Hey everyone, Melanie Muenchinger here, illustrator for Gina K Designs. I had several requests from all of you to do something with one of my basket sets. So today I am going to be using the basket from my spring basket set along with the images from my A Year of Flowers set and the new coordinating die set. Very minimal products for this. We're going to be die cutting out of colored cardstock rather than stamping on white and coloring in. This is a great way to really stretch the colors that you have by just using your cardstock papers instead of needing lots of different pads or coloring tools. You'll be surprised just how few coloring tools we're using today to create this look. The other products you'll need, in addition to these two stamp sets and the die set, which are both from Gina K Designs, I'm going to be using the Gina K Black Onyx ink pad. I've got some tape adhesive and then some foam adhesive in 2 heights. The cardstock that I'm using today, I've got the Gina K Tomato Soup, and this is an A2 size card base. It is 8.5 by 5.5 scored at 4 1/4. And then this white mat here is 3 7/8 inches by 5 1/8 inches. Those are the measured mats that you're going to need. And then the colored cardstock that we're using today, I've got the Jellybean Green and the Grass Green scraps for those leaves, using the Kraft on the basket, the tomato soup for one of the flowers, and then the sweet mango and the wild dandelion for the remaining flowers. I have some scissors for cutting out that basket. For all of the die cutting that we're doing, you just need a die cutting machine, so your Cuttlebug, Grand Caliber, whatever you have. I'm also going to be using just a white gel pen, and then you're just going to need a gray and a brown marker. So I am using the Spectrum Noir EB3 and then the BG3. Those are the shades for today's card. And then just some acrylic blocks. One will do if you have one that will fit both the basket and the flower. All right, so let's begin just by stamping out our basket. And this image is so easy to cut out. I don't have a die for it, but very simple to cut. Grab that basket here from the spring basket set. And you can leave this uncolored if you want, but I'm just going to use my brown marker to add some accents to it. And then I'm going to use that BG3 gray marker to add a shadow. You can add the shadow though at the end when you decide where your light source is coming from. So I'm just going to stamp this basket. Okay. And so easy to cut out. You really don't even have to worry about that top edge because it's going to be covered by those flowers and leaves. So just straight cuts down the sides, on the side, and then I'm just going to go across the top. And you can change the size of your container here by just putting the flowers higher or lower in your arrangement. If you are going to have the top of it show, you can even trim that if you want it to be a shallower basket. Now I've shown this next flower that I'm using in my A Year of Flowers set in my videos before. It's one of my favorites. This one right here, it's just a nice scale for this basket, but any of them will work. So you just have to imagine that this is a smaller arrangement of larger flowers. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I just want to position this on here. My flowers are going to go up top. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change this to a landscape orientation so that you can see how that's going to be different. You can use this basket either way. So I'm going to pick out one of these sentiments. Let's just do, let's see, I think I'm going to grab the Friend one from Spring Basket, and I'm just going to stamp this off to the right. Let's place that here, leaving room for my leaves and flowers above, and then Friend right there. Okay, so just to save time, because I've shown die cutting these in another video which you can watch, I've got several of them already stamped out, but we're going to be making 3 flowers here. So I've got the tomato, the sweet mango, and the wild dandelion. So I'm going to show stamping that flower into those die cuts. So I already did the tomato soup one. And then you're going to be doing 5 different leaves. So we've got 3 from the lighter green, and 2 from the darker green. So just pull that away. And they're very easy to line up when you have the clear. I'm trying to keep my head out of the video, but you just lay it over it until you see about the same amount of room on each side. You know you've got it nice and centered. So, okay, so we've got these done. So let me show you, all I'm going to do to these, I want the center to stand out. So I'm going to just put this brown right into the middle, which I already did on this one. And then I'm going to give this one a brown center as well. So you see how easy that is to color. Now, if you want to add just a little bit of shadow to these different flowers, you can add just a little bit. So you see the gray on the colored cardstock is just going to produce a deeper shade of the color cardstock that you have. This is not necessary, but if you want to add just a little bit of depth, that'll do it. Now I'm going to take my white pen and I'm just going to add just some little dots in different sizes. You can do tiny dots and then kind of draw a very small little circle, and that's just going to make the centers pop out. And it looks really nice. It's a nice detail to go with your white mat. The little small details that you add are what is going to make your card memorable and special. Okay, so there's our flowers. And you want to make sure that you do all your stamping and your coloring before you put the adhesive on the back. So I'm going to have some of them in the front, and then I'm going to have some of them in the back. So I'm going to use the 2 different layers or thicknesses of the foam. So the ones in front I'm going to have with a thicker foam, and then the one in back I'm going to have with a smaller or thinner piece of foam. Now let's do our leaves, and you can do, you know, a lot of different types of leaves in here. You can do different flowers in here, but I just chose to use the one. So I'm going to use this one that I always refer to as the fern. So we're going to just stamp this in. So I've got a couple of them stamped already just to save time. So we've got that on our grass green. It's one of my favorite greens. And then this Jellybean Green. It's a nice spring green. So we can put these at the bottom and these at the top, or the ones overlapping, but we just want our eye to kind of travel around that card. And then I'm going to add just a few little accents to this. Now, if you want to add them just like that, you can. But again, this is really going to add a lot of depth to your card. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to trace underneath. So see how that's turning a nice dark green with using that BG3 gray marker. And then we're going to do the same thing here on this Jellybean Green. So I'm just trying to remind you, you don't have to have, you know, hundreds of colors of markers to really make your cards look amazing. Just takes a few colors and to know what to do with them. And then if you want to add some white highlights, you can do that. So I'm going to just trace that the same way I did here. And then I'm going to take my white gel pen and I'm just going to go opposite, and this might be hard to see in the video, but I can see it here, opposite of wherever that shadow is. So the top parts of the leaves are going to be where the light is hitting them. And you might choose to add these later after you have positioned them on your card, and then you really know for sure where the light's going to be coming from. Okay? All right, so that's all I'm going to do there. Now on the basket, what I want to do is I'm just going to take this brown, and this is just going to tie it in on the flowers and just give more detail to the basket. I'm just tapping or touching the tip of this bullet point marker to each of these little woven pieces in here. So you just go across in rows. It goes very quickly, not doing any shading. And if you want, you could even use a water-based marker. I'm using alcohol markers today just because I have these close at hand. The colors are nice and vibrant. But we're not really doing coloring today, so you're not having to worry about blending or the brush strokes. So whatever you want to use. And I just like markers just because the color is just so dark. You don't have to build it up the way that you do with pencils. But then, of course, pencils give you nice texture if that's the look you're going for. So Please check out the videos that I've got some simple pencil coloring with Prismas and Spectrum Noir in there. And then if you want to do just a little detail on that little twisted part, you can. I'm not doing the top there because you're not going to see that. So I want to adhere this with my tape runner because this is going to be the layer that's the farthest back. But if you want to put this on foam, you can. So I'm just going to put this right about here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to adhere this to my card base. And I'm doing this now because I want those leaves to hang out over the edge and the flowers, but I want to make sure it's still going to fit inside my envelope. So I don't want them to go too far off. So this is showing me where. So now I'm going to just lay out my leaves. So I want to have them hanging out both sides, but I also want them going in and out kind of those flowers. So I'm going to put, let's see, just kind of lay them out. So I'm laying out the leaves first. And then I will add my flowers on top. So I'm using the thinner pieces of foam on the leaves because I want the flowers to be even farther out than the leaves. Okay. And then I'm going to have this yellow one over here. And then I'm going to arrange that just like that. And you just want the leaves to look like they're attached to something. Can go a little bit further out with these leaves since I've got it in the landscape style orientation. Okay, that looks good to me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attach these, and you have space around the flowers so you'll be able to nest those leaves in when you're ready. If it goes right up to the edge, then it's hard to kind of have that wiggle room. And one more here. So this is just the fussiest part of the card. Laying it all out and then getting everything adhered, but it goes pretty quickly. And I want to turn my flowers so that you don't look like they're in the same orientation every time. You don't want it to look like it's a stamp. You want them to all look like separate floral images. And then this one, okay, sandwich that one in there. And then finally this. And then the last thing that we have to do is to add that shadow. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my BG3 marker and I'm going to imagine that my light is coming in from the top right. So we're going to be getting a shadow down here and then off to the left. And I'm not making a perfect circle because those leaves and flowers are kind of hanging off at all different directions and are all different shapes. So you can really just kind of do a scribble with just uneven edges here. I want to concentrate it over here. And then I'm going to just do just a real simple one on the side. And because these are dimensional, they're casting a shadow anyway. But if you want to draw, just really emphasize that shadow of the flowers and leaves, you can do that. And then I'm just going to go ahead and just go over this one more time. And I'm going to add just a little bit more white here, just blend it in a little bit to the brown because it was still drying. There we go. And that's it. So we're going to fold this up and the card is complete. Please let me know in the comments which one you prefer, the portrait or landscape style. And I encourage you to really try this technique using these die cut images with the baskets and containers in my other set. I've got one that looks more like a Longaberger basket in my holiday basket set. I've got the different vases and buds and vases, and then even throughout my Stately Flowers line, and of course the Beyond basket containers as well. Thank you for watching this video today. Please visit my blog, Hands, Head, and Heart, for more ideas and inspiration using all of our stamp sets and products from Gina K Designs, and visit us over at Stamp TV, where we've got lots more videos and challenges. Thank you for watching today. God bless.